is Addilae Carmichael, and I'm a young woman CEO ambassador. And I am here today with Bailey Rose, the teen entrepreneur who's 18 years old and lives in Bali, Indonesia. She was born in New Zealand, and at the age of 12, her parents moved to Bali. She graduated high school in 2020 and started her business right after at the age of 17. Bailey works in a business podcast management business and builds websites, creates memberships, and deals with graphic design and personal branding. So how are you? I'm so excited to be here today.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah. I just wanted to ask right off the bat, what prompted you to even launch this business, and how was it starting a business in the middle of the COVID pandemic?
Well, honestly, it was kind of crazy. So during COVID, right at the beginning, my mum had a business where she does, personal development, and she was kind of like a life coach and also a business coach. But we had to pivot real quick after COVID struck because everyone's just wriggling in their money and just trying to hold it back. And so we were in that kind of precarious situation where no one's paying for our services, so we had to switch really quickly. And my mum turned, in order to keep her team, so she has a team of awesome women who work for her, but in order to keep them, because we weren't getting any money in, she started an agency. So basically I think they were all women. Women entrepreneurs would pay her for her team services. They would do podcast management and membership site development and websites and all of this kind of stuff. None of which my mom had ever done before. But it was great. It was a great learning experience. And that was while I was still in school, actually. So that was March, April.
Was that challenging to balance? I know, especially with COVID during school, I'm a junior and it's crazy already. And I can't imagine on top of like starting a new business, how was that trying to manage the two?
Honestly, I got away pretty scot-free because we only had 2 weeks of school. For some reason, because we were supposed to go off for exam leave, and then our finals got cancelled. So basically we had nothing to do. They were trying to put on these cooking classes online and it just did not work. So we kind of just didn't really do much. So
lots of free time. It's great.
Exactly. I had all this free time and we weren't allowed to see our peers or our friends. So I was like, what am I going to do? So I just started a business. I started working with my mum and understanding what she did and learning different skills like podcast editing, website design, all of this cool stuff. And in about June, end of June, I think, I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go and just dive right in, because I don't really see what I'm going to be doing before now in university, because our universities don't start until, well, they have already started now, but I had like an 8-month period after graduation before the universities would start in New Zealand, and I didn't know what I was going to do. So I launched this business and it's taken off, and I can't honestly believe where I am right now, and it's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, that is fantastic to hear. And being that you're so young, you're 18 years old and you're an entrepreneur, what is the different reaction that you get from adults in your field? And is it maybe different between men and women who you encounter? We've talked a lot about how you've worked with women really closely in your starting your business.
Yeah, so my target audience are women between the ages of about 25 and 35. And I feel that supporting women is a lot easier because I don't know, I've worked with men in the past and they're great, but I feel that it's a little bit more difficult to communicate with them, or at least the men that I've worked with, a little bit more difficult to communicate. And also, I don't know, there can be a little bit of condescension that happens as well.
Do you think that's more age-based or gender-based?
Could be both, to be honest. Which is a little bit disappointing, but that's why my target audience aren't men. And now I don't think I work with any guys actually, and which is really great. So when I checked my Instagram analytics, it's my Instagram base is about 90% women and all between my age range, which is great.
Fantastic.
which is exactly what I'm wanting. Yeah. But what I found when I first started, I didn't have a clear picture of who I wanted to work with and that kind of stuff. And so it was a little bit rocky when I first started, and I was working with all these different people, and it wasn't working because I didn't have a clear idea of my target audience. And if you don't have a clear target audience, what can happen is, you cast your net too wide. You try and work with everyone and then end up working with no one who actually fits in with what you're trying to do. And so when I did actually start to really define my brand in about November, after probably about 5 months, 6 months of doing all this work, I like my business has just exploded from there. It was doing well before, but it's just, it's gone crazy now.
Yeah. And we've talked a lot about your collaboration process. You work in a co-working space. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience being, like, once again, so young in this and really just being in the industry at a traditionally pretty young age? So how do you manage that and interact in that co-working space?
Yeah, so I'm actually at my co-working space now. I'm just in a little Skype booth for recording, but yeah, no, it's interesting. I got invited to lunch with some people that I met here, and only one of them knew my actual age. And when they started asking me questions at lunch, they were all really shocked. They were like, "Oh, I mean, you look young, but I didn't
expect that young."
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's a little bit different. I've had to learn to really hold my own, especially talking with adults. When I first started, I came across some like imposter syndrome a little bit, and when I was talking to people, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I really can be doing this. Like, I've done theater my entire life, so I know how to act confident.
Yes.
But actually being confident is a different thing. And so I would put on this kind of facade of being, fake it till you make it. But in behind the scenes, I was feeling like, oh God, I don't know if I can talk to adults like this. Like, if I didn't want to work with someone, like, how do I just be straight out and be like, I'm sorry, I don't think we're going to be a good fit here. Like, those are skills I've had to develop over this period, but it's been great, and they've helped me to, stand on my own, especially in a co-working space where there's so many, like, other women, other guys, people of everything from different countries, different languages, all of that, different fields. Yeah. It's great.
In meeting all of these people, have you encountered any entrepreneur groups, and maybe specifically any women's groups that you've been able to infiltrate a little bit?
Unfortunately, I haven't found any women's groups or any kind of entrepreneurial groups, but I just think that it's a great networking opportunity here. If I find a women's group, I'll probably join it and, try and infiltrate it. But so far, I haven't found any. Maybe it's a little bit different because, Bali is full of so many people just coming in and out all the time. Like, I found that even going to school here, like every single, even semester, we'd get new people. Like, people would leave, people would come in. So there was always this influx of new people, and maybe it's just like the life that we have here. But yeah, it's a little bit different, I think, than it would be in New Zealand or in America. Yeah,
absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about what you do. How did you get into podcasting, and how did you get so just proficient with all the techniques?
Right. So I started to learn with my mum when, COVID struck.
Right.
And she had a couple of clients who were needing that kind of service. She'd never done it before. So she was like, Bailey, I know you're not doing anything. Do you want to have a go at this? And I was like, yeah, of course.
Sure.
Earn some money, learning new skills.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a little bit difficult to earn money here. So yeah, sorry, hang on. We probably should cut that out. Sorry.
No, you are all good.
Just because of like government stuff. I'll just move forward.
You're good. That's good.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it was really awesome just to jump at that kind of opportunity and you learn a new skill, all of that kind of things. I so when we launched and I started to kind of understand these like nuances and techniques, I would watch videos and I would kind of record myself and edit. And in about April, while I was still at school, my school offered this opportunity to create our own podcast episode for this competition that the New York Times was running. And so I wasn't doing anything. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. And I'd already been learning some of these skills. And so I applied them and I found that I really loved it. And I loved, writing all the script and perfecting it and then audio editing and all of this kind of stuff. And then I kind of just carried it through because I started building up some clients and yeah, it was crazy. I had one client that I started with and I learned a lot from that client. They were not my target audience, but they really helped me to understand, the processes and the intricacies of working with clients and just kind of entering that business world in general. Yeah.
That being said, you've done a ton of incredible stuff. What has been your favorite project, if you had to pick one?
Yeah, well, I worked for the New Zealand government actually, which was really, really cool.
Wow.
I worked with the social studies education sector. So, and it's just, I think it was, yeah, they have a pretty small team and they were doing everything manually. So they have like this big membership site where, different schools and things like that would come and they would, pay for all of these social studies workbooks and things like that. But what was happening is that they were doing everything manually. So they were processing bank statements. Like they didn't have an FPOS card or an ATM card or anything like that. They were doing it like manually. They had like to write out each of the individual emails in like this giant Excel spreadsheet. It's like, and so they came to me and they're like, "Can you just automate this?" And so I did. And I set up a payment system for them. I set up a membership site. I set up a brand new website for them. And I made all these tutorials on how to use it and things like that. And yeah, it was a really, really cool project. Yeah.
That's great. Oh my gosh. And do you have any big plans for your business going forward? Do you have this master vision or what's your next move?
So my next move is I'm always aiming to go higher. That's I've got like an upwards trajectory. What I found though is that it's really easy to strive for success and then feel like you've hit it and then kind of plateau. And so I have to keep, every time I feel like I'm plateauing and going, I've been working really hard, but I seem to be at the same level. I have to think of something new that I have to do that will push me to that next level. And that's what,
yeah,
exactly. And that's what I've been trying to do lately. I launched a big had a podcast course last month, and that took me about 4 months to develop. And so that one was really cool, and that I think pushed me to a new level of thinking that as well. And I'm producing new content each day on my Instagram. I'm thinking of different ways to create content as well. I'm doing a few TikToks, like business TikToks.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, exactly. I bought myself like this little ring light with a
really
phone
professional holder. I love this setup.
It was awesome. And sometimes I'm like, it's like 11 p.m. at night and I'm like, I'm just gonna record a TikTok for my Instagram tomorrow and then I'll do that. But yeah, just thinking of new and innovative ways of creating content or of just growing my business. My goal is to get to 5,000 Instagram followers by the end of the year. And so far I've been growing about 100 followers a month. And so I'm at 700 and something now, but in the past week I've gained 100. So yeah. So whenever I'm doing.
Congratulations. Yeah, whatever you're doing
you.
is working.
Yeah, so I'm trying to keep going with that momentum and building up. I'm working on Instagram stories and all of this kind of stuff to build that community, and building that community, because a lot of people come to me because I do a lot of stuff in my business, like podcast management, branding, funnels, all of this stuff, and also like social media management sometimes as well. And so people would come to me and they'd be like, should I, my Instagram isn't doing so great. Should I buy followers? I'm like, no way. Because what buying followers does is it decreases your engagement. So, and the point of having an Instagram is that you build community and you build engagement. And that is how you can sell products from your Instagram, because you have a community that wants to buy. But if you have 7,000 inactive followers and you're getting like 26 likes, it's a little bit,
the ratios are a little off. Yeah,
they are, and people can see through it as well. And then the actual people that might have purchased from you don't want to, because they don't see you as trustworthy if you're just going to be buying all this stuff. So it's about building that community. Yeah.
Absolutely. We've talked a lot about your mom, and she's a very successful lady. She has a wildly successful women's empowerment conference. How has she influenced you over this process of coming into yourself? And was she really excited for you to start this process? And what about your other parent, your dad? How are you managing that relationship? Is he supportive? Is he excited about your venture?
Yeah, so my mum is incredibly supportive. She's amazing. Yeah, she helps me in pretty much any kind of endeavor that I want to partake in. And, if I come to her with an idea about, I want to launch a podcast course, she's like, okay, great, let's have a chat, and let's get out the whiteboard, and she'll have all the markers, and she'll be, planning it out, and we'll be talking and things like that. And she'll go into detail about her launch phase and how she makes money. And so I'm learning constantly from her. And she, like you said, she has a massive, so she is Australasia's largest women's leadership conference. And like just watching her go through that process was massive learning. Unfortunately, it got cancelled last year because of COVID, and it probably won't be on this year because of COVID. But when it is back on, she's like pushing for huge things. And my dad lives in New Zealand. I see him maybe once a year if I go back. I think he likes it. Yeah, I think he's good with it. But yeah, my mum's super supportive, and yeah, she helps me in all aspects of that. Yeah.
That's so lucky. You guys have a great relationship. That's incredible.
Yeah. I'm so lucky with her. Yeah, definitely.
And speaking of being a teenager and growing up and changing, how is it living in Bali, a place that's like really so not familiar for me, and you've moved around the globe so many times? How is it living in Bali as a teenager?
It was crazy growing up here, to be honest. I lived in small town New Zealand for until I was 12 years old. And my mum went on holiday to Bali for the first time for 4 days with my auntie. And she came back and she was like, yeah, we're going to move to Bali. And we're all like, oh, are we now?
You know, for sure.
Yeah. And my stepdad had never been to Bali before. My brother had never been to Bali before, just my mum. And she went for 4 days. And so about 6 months later, we packed up our entire house and our entire lives into a storage unit, and we moved here. It was supposed to only be for a year. Famous last words, we're still here after 7. Yeah, no, it was pretty crazy. We moved there because I was in the last year of intermediate, which is year 8. Year 9 is our first year of high school. And so I would have been going into year 8. And so that one would have been perfect because I would have gone back to New Zealand for high school and things like that. But that's not exactly how it worked out. We found that we really enjoyed, in the beginning, it was a massive culture shock, and we enjoyed a lot of aspects of it. But, there were things that were hard to figure out, where are the supermarkets? You know, things like
Yeah.
that. Like, where do I buy a light bulb? Like things like that, like basic things that you would be able to just go to. Well, I guess you in America you go to Walmart or Target or something like that and go and get those things. But uh, in New Zealand, we'd have those kinds of facilities available. But here it was way more difficult to kind of maneuver around. You know, we had to learn to drive on motorbikes instead of in cars and all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, so it was a culture shock to begin with, but I think it's been an awesome learning experience because in the schools that I've gone to since I've been here, the first one that I went to, it was made out of bamboo. The entire school was made
Wow.
from bamboo. Yeah. And this is me coming from a small town public school in New Zealand who'd gone to the same school her entire life to like this crazy backwards school, um, you know, and they had mud wrestling as one of the subjects you could take.
And
They
did
had
you
like this,
take it? Did you take
of
mud wrestling?
course.
Right.
Yep. And mud wrestling was, you know, one of the subjects you could take and all of this kind of stuff. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. But the thing is that what I really enjoyed about going to school here and growing up here is that you meet so many different people and you get immersed in so many other cultures, like Indonesian culture, obviously, but like cultures that I didn't even know existed, you know, and you really understand like different people and you know where different people's mindsets are at and all of this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's super interesting, to be honest.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And so my friend group growing up, we had people from like nearly every continent, you know.
And now that you're obviously very well adjusted after 7 years of living there, what are some of your favorite things to do in your free time? And how do you just spend your downtime when you're not working so crazy hard?
Yeah, so I really like going to the beach with my dogs. We have three of them. um, and so I like going to the beach with them. And I don't have I don't have a whole lot of friends left in Bali because a lot of them have gone to university. But you know, with the ones that I do have left here, I like we go and we have these dinners on like a Friday night and we'll go and we'll pop around to a bunch of different places because it's really cheap to get food here. So we'll go and get, you know, like a main course at one restaurant and then we'll go get gelato and we'll just, you know, drive around on our little motorbikes and, you know, go sit at the park or stuff like that. But, you know, just kind of hanging out. There are
Yeah.
definitely aspects of, you know, there are rice fields and all of the stuff, but like there's cities and things here too.
Right.
And tons of malls. And so, you know, actually I went shopping with my mum yesterday. We had to buy her a whole new wardrobe. So yeah. So that's what we did. That was really fun. And it's nice just to kind of step out of the business world for a little bit and take some time.
I have obviously thought about being an entrepreneur for my whole life, and being in high school, it's you're choosing your path and finding out which way to go. Do you have any books or advice for young girls like me who want to be entrepreneurs and want to go on and be hopefully as successful as you are at such an early age? What advice would you give?
I've been actually reading a book at the moment called The Miracle Morning, and it's really, really great. And basically, it teaches you how to like take control of your morning, and like if you wake up about 5 or 6 a.m., like how you can actually turn your life around, and you can start like getting into acting on your goals and like start creating all these amazing habits and get healthy and all of this really cool stuff. So that's really interesting, that there. And then, yeah, I just think my piece of advice would be don't wait until the perfect time arises. Because what I've learned is that there is no perfect time. And the only thing that you can do is to just go for it and just put all of your effort in and just go for it. Don't put one foot in and you have one foot on the land. Just go straight in, and it's scary. It really, really is, especially when you first get into it. And then there's kind of these, you know, waves that you go through where it'll be really scary, and then you complete something, and then, oh no, there comes another scary thing, and then you'll be able to see the new horizon or whatever. And it's really great just learning all of the different things and going through. But I guess that's just life as well. No, that's my piece of advice. Just go for it and don't wait for the perfect time.
Some pretty good advice, some very sound advice from someone so young. Well, this has been absolutely fantastic, Bailey Rose. How can people get in touch with you if they want to find more about you and what they do?
Oh, well, that would be awesome. You can head over to www.baileyrose.co. That's my website. You can check out, you know, my portfolio and all the services that I offer on there. And you can also find me on my Instagram, which is also baileyrose.co. Those are my two favorite things, my Instagram, my website. And then I also have my own podcast, which is the Hey, It's Bailey Rose podcast. And you can find that anywhere on, you know, Apple or Spotify.
Great. Well, it was fantastic talking with you. Thank you so much for meeting with me. And I hope to talk to you again super soon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.